Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the final episode of part one of my TikTok series on the New Orleans vampires and vampire culture there. Today we're going to be talking about the Carter brothers. The vibrant city of New Orleans in the 1930s. The Great Depression has been casting a long and looming shadow over the beautiful Crescent City, but the French Quarter still hums with life. Among its residents are two brothers, John and Wayne Carter, and by all accounts they were seemingly ordinary men who toiled their days on the Mississippi River as a way of living. But one day all of that would change when a harrowing account took place. One evening, a young girl burst from the 800 block of Royal Street, screaming in blood-curdling terror. Her wrists were badly cut and she was bleeding. Not only that, but there were loose bandages where she had obviously been bleeding for quite a while. Frantically running through the French Quarter, she quickly caught the attention of a police officer. The officer approached, curious to know what was wrong with this woman who looked like she was in obvious hysterics. After pleading with her to calm down, the police officer was able to get the woman to recount her circumstances that led to her being found in such a disheveled and obviously injured state. The woman's story was horrifying. She recounted being held prisoner with others in the Carter brothers' apartment. They bled them slowly, a terrifying ordeal in order to gain sustenance. The police were initially skeptical, but due to the woman's appearance, they decided to follow her tip. Arriving at the apartment, the police officers were met with a scene that confirmed the woman's worst fears. Bodies drained of flesh, some fresh and others now decomposing, lay scattered across the floor. 4 other live victims were found tied to chairs, their wrists still bandaged and bleeding. All the while, the Carter brothers had no idea that the police had even raided their home, as they were still on the Mississippi at work when this occurred. Upon their arrival, a struggle ensued. When the police tried to apprehend the Carter brothers, they were met with an unexpected resistance. Despite both brothers being of average height and build, they were surprisingly strong, and it took a staggering 8 police officers in order to subdue them. Immediately, rumors swirled that the brothers were fueled by a dark purpose. It was said that they believed after 7 days of drinking nothing but human blood that they would be immortalized as vampires. What followed was a sensationalized story that overtook the French Quarter immediately, and soon began to echo within the vampiric lore of New Orleans. The Carter brothers were arrested and convicted and eventually executed for their crime. They were entombed in a family crypt, and it seemed that the final chapter of their lives had been written. However, this is where the legend took another bizarre turn. Years later, when another Carter relative died and was to be placed in the crypt, it said that the bodies of the 2 brothers were completely missing. This only boosted the sensationalization of the story. However, this wasn't the end for all of the Carter legends. It seemed that one of their victims who had escaped their clutches ended up suffering terrible trauma that left an indelible mark. This led them to begin down a very dark, and the survivor eventually became a serial killer themselves, murdering twice as many people and purportedly drinking their blood as well. To this day, many sightings of the Carter brothers have been reported in the French. The new owner of their previous apartment building claims to have seen them whispering on the 3rd floor balcony, but upon being viewed, they immediately jumped into the street and disappeared completely. And even now, some people claim to see them roaming the streets near the 800 block of Royal Street in Vieux Carré.